Good day to the fellow South Africans and especially to the grade 9s and their parents at home. This message is to you because there's a lot of children and your students sitting in class. I will share this with the class teachers of 9A and 9B, Mr. Arendse and Ms. Goedeman, so that they can also make the parents aware that the learners are not paying attention to the work being done in class. They are more concerned with the learners behind them chewing and talking, and also concerned with people having to go during the bathroom when it is not even interval. A lot of you, or some of you, have asked me now, how do we do certain things, and I do not know. Just because I'm a teacher does not mean I need to know everything. But if I do not know, it doesn't mean I'm not going to try, right? So I'm going to try and see how far I get. Maybe there is solutions, maybe there isn't. So let's try and see if we can solve these following. We got in the previous video up until question number 7. We're going to continue from question number 7. I want you to follow. I'm not going to write down everything, but I trust that you guys will work with me and also participate as far as possible. Today I feel like working in purple. So at question number 8, we're going to work out C, the value of C. So C in this case is the hypotenuse. So we can therefore say C squared. C squared is equals to 9 squared plus 12 squared. Now if I know my arithmetic good, I will know that C squared is equals to 81, and the square of 12 is 144. If I add them together, what do I get? 225, and I'm smiling because that number sounds familiar. Alright, so C squared is equals to 225. I square root on both sides. What I do on the left hand side, because it's an equation, I square root both sides. So the square root of C squared will be C, and the square root of 225 can be 15. 15 units. Good job to those of you who are participating. The rest of you are sleeping. Please wake up. Otherwise, you're going to be waking up in grade 9, 2025. Question number 9. There we are supposed to solve for D. Like I said, the hypotenuse is given, and whenever the hypotenuse is given, we can subtract from the hypotenuse. So I'm going to subtract. I want to work out D squared. So I'm going to say D squared, in this case, D squared is equals to 17 squared minus 8 squared. The square of 17? 289, and the square of 8 is 64. The difference between that is 225. That number looks familiar. I just saw it in the previous one, so therefore I say D square, that is the square root. D square is equals to 15 units. Alright, at question number 10, I'm quickly going to try and do that one. Now these two, the symbols here indicate to me that these two lines are the same size. So that means if this is 25 and the other one, sorry, this is 5 and the other one is also 5. So we are supposed to work out the hypotenuse. So we can say hypotenuse squared is equals to 5 squared plus 5 squared. So square of 25 plus 25. So that's equals to 50. E squared. Good job, grade 7. You know your square roots. Alright, so E squared, you'll get it later. E squared, and we want to determine only E, so we're going to square root that. And what we do on the left hand side, we repeat on the right hand side. So I'm just going to do some basic number theory of term 1 with you guys. So this becomes E. Now if you don't have a calculator, you don't have to panic, because in grade 9 maths, we teach you in the first term to do mathematics without a calculator. So if I have a square root and I want to work out the answer of a square root. And this lesson will also be repeated in grade 10 and grade 11, but you basically factorize what is under the square root. No, you write it as prime basis. So if I write prime basis of 50, it will probably be 2 times 5 to the power of 2. Alright? Now because there's a power of 2 inside, and I want to work out the square root, I can write this as, this is actually the square root of 2 times the square root of 5 to the power of 2. And now I can take out that 2, and that's going to become, sorry, I'm going to leave the 2 on the square root because I can't simplify the square of 2 because 2 is not a perfect square. But 5 to the power of 2 is a perfect square, and that is actually 5. So we're going to say that this answer is actually 5 times square root of 2. And if you type in that into your calculator, Uncle Casio, and you can also get that, we call this answer simplified surd form. So let's check if that is correct. Square root of 50, and it gives me 5 times square root 2. Excellent question. If you left it as square root 50, I would have accepted that answer in grade 9. But if you continue grade 10 in 11 mathematics, because I teach you this, we're going to expect you to simplify the square. But for now, yes, for now, we're going to allow you to leave it under a square root. Alright? In that form. Now we're going to go on to question number 11. Question 11, we have the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is 1,7. So we're going to say f squared is equals to e 1,7, squared minus 1,5 squared. Now I can do this without the calculator, but I'm a little bit lazy today. It's almost Friday and almost weekend, so I'm going to go to the calculator just for time's sake. So I'm going to say, also practicing my calculator skills, I'm going to say 1.7 within a bracket. I close the bracket and I square that like that. And then I'm going to say alright, let's first work out that answer. Let's write it as is. That's 289 over 100. Alright, and then 1,5. Now, too fast? Alright, let's convert that quickly. No? Let's convert it quickly to a, it is already decimal, so let's work it to a fraction. Anything that is written, how can I write 0,5? Let's just revisit. 0,5 can be written as 0,5, 0.5 can be written as. Alright, what we do, we check how many places after. We write down the number and then we write down how many zeros. So how many zeros is it? 1 0, put a 1 in front. And this can be simplified to 1 over 2. You can go, yes. Yeah. Good. Now, let's see if we can convert 1,5 to decimal. So we know the second part, the 0,5 is what? It's 1.5. Alright? Or, let's use that 5 over 10. Let's use that quickly. We can write the second part of this 0,5 as 5 over 10, which is a half. Alright? But let's not simplify now. But what is in front of this? What is in front of this number? It's 1 plus 5 and 10. 5 over 10. Alright? So, if we simplify here, then you can check on your calculator, it's going to be what? It's going to be 15 over 10. Alright? 15 over 10 can be simplified to 3 over 2. Now, if you square this, 3 over 2, or if we square this number here, square that. What is 15? Squared? 225. So that's going to be 225 over and 10 squared? 100. Now we have the same denominator. So we can say it's 289 minus 225 over 100. And what is that answer? Just the top, just the numerator's answer? 289 minus 225? Minus. It's 64. Alright? So that's 64 over 100. Now look here, I'm revisiting because you can be asked to do this work without a calculator in question number 1 and paper number 1. That's why I'm doing this with you guys on this manner. So I have f squared here, but I do not want to work out f squared. So what do? I just want to get f. What do? I turn this to the square root of 64 over 100. So what is the square root of 64? 8. And the square root of 10? Sorry, 100 is equals to 10. So my answer is 0,8. I'm just showing you how you can do it without a calculator as well. So if you fail mathematics at the end of the year, and we welcome you in grade 9 mathematics 2025, you cannot say it's because you didn't have a calculator. Alright?
This is too long
So this one looks quite difficult, but it's not. Or it doesn't have to be difficult. So we can simplify here. I don't know the answer, but let's see if we can get to an answer. So what does the theorem of Pythagoras state? And sometimes we, in mathematics, we simplify by going back to the theory. And that's why it's important to know the theory. Knowledge is quite an expensive thing. And once they made education free, people thought that knowledge was also going to become free. But we pay a very expensive price that some of us cannot afford for knowledge. And we pay every day, we pay attention. And if you do not pay attention, you're going to pay the price at the end of the year and you're going to be unsuccessful. So, if we go back to the theorem of Pythagoras, the Pythagorean theorem states that the square of the hypotenuse. So what is the hypotenuse in this case? 50 squared is equals to the other side's squared. So that is going to be x squared plus x squared. We have the hypotenuse. What is the hypotenuse? Listen to the theorem of Pythagoras. Let's repeat the theorem of Pythagoras. Listen here. The theorem of Pythagoras states that in any right angle triangle, the square wie die laaste lag sal die lekkerste lag. In any right angle triangle, the hypotenuse squared is equals to the sum of the other two sides squared. So that means the sum of the other two sides. What is the one other side? X. And the other side is X. So we need to square both of those X's. Alright? So, right now we are back with algebra. So if we have two like terms, we're going to say that this is equals to 2x squared. And that is equals to the square of 50. Now what is the square of 50? 2000. Welcome to the late learners there. Maybe they're still going to get on the train for grade 10, 2025. We hope so. So if I want to solve for x, that means I need to make x the subject. And that means I need to make x, get x alone. So I do inverse operations. And if I have here a 2x squared, I first need to divide on both sides by 2. Alright, allow me quickly to finish up. So what is 2,500 divided by 2? 1,250. And that is equals to x squared. But I do not want to have the value of x. I just want to determine the value of x. So therefore, the square root of that. And therefore, the x is equals to 25 times the square root of 2. Alright, guys, just if you see symbols like this, that means the length of the sides are the same. At question number 13, I'm just going to do question number 13 and then I'm going to allow you to do the rest. Alright, so g squared is equals to 4 squared plus 4 squared. So that means g squared is equals to 16 plus 16, which equals to 32. So g is equals to the square root of 32. Is there a simplified answer to that? Alright, listen here. You can leave your answer like that at square root of 32 for grade 9. That is still acceptable. So you could have left your answer as square root of 32 units. Okay? I'm going to leave you now to do question number, the rest or the remainder of the questions. Thank you. I see you are quite coping well with these questions.